Bless ye the I am, all ye his servants of the I am, which by night stand in the house of the I am. Lift up your hands in the sanctuary and bless the I am. The I am that made heaven and earth, bless thee out of Zion. Psalms chapter 134. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have swayed over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. All praises to the Most High. We thank God for all that he's done for us and for you. Yes, even that you're viewing even right now. We thank God for the daylight, and we thank him for the noonday sky, even the starlit nights. We thank the Most High, because without it, where would we be? We thank him for this earth that nurtures our bodies and our minds and gives us life, even that life that God has given us, even the breath that he has given us. And we thank the Most High for that. And we also give the Most High glory and the praise for the enemies that he defeated, those who have risen up against me in their pride, and those who have risen up against us in their pride, and those who have risen up against us in their greed and their lust. Yes, we thank God that he has even caused them to be repelled, or we thank God for just delivering them into our hands that we might defend ourselves. And oh, we just thank God, yes, and even for the food and the clothing that we have, because if you take each succession, yes, you worked, but how did you get your body? Yes, you got your body, but how did it come about then? See, we thank God for our daily bread. Not that God gave it to us directly, but he enabled us to get the things that we do have. And that can go all the way back to Adam, even the beginning. And he allows us to see each day, and allow us the sun and the moon that we might number our days. And we give God the glory and the praise for that. Yes. And also we thank God for hand clap of praise. We thank God for those who have been with us since the beginning, and those that have been with us here and there's about. And we thank the Most High for those of you that are viewing, and those of you that are thinking about subscribing. And oh yes, we do thank God for those who have just subscribed, and we thank God for those who are just incognito. They're thinking about it. And we're calling those things what? As though they are. Yes. 2 Chronicles, as you prepare, 2 Chronicles chapter 12. Yes, we're in 2 Chronicles chapter 12 and moving right along. Yes, we've read where the Most High has caused the split. It was in his will that Israel should split. This thing is of the I am. Yes, you will read that if you go back into those chapters and, should I say, recap. Yes. And how that you had Jeroboam and Rehoboam. One was the son of Solomon, the other one was an Israelite exile. He had ran. He was seeking asylum in the land of Egypt. And so after he heard of the death of Solomon, he returned, and because of that, he has caused the people to follow him because of the tariffs and the taxes and the lavish living of King Solomon and his son Rehoboam. He did not even want to lift their burden by taking the taxes off of them. Yes, it reminds me of Burkina Faso, how that the people were taxed, and many of you pay school fees, and in the United States we pay house taxes, which provide for school fees, some fire, some law enforcement. But it's kind of bad when you own a house and your own law enforcement deletes you. does things to try to undermine your earnings and your job when you're innocent. And the only thing they come back with, we're sorry, but in behind your back they're laughing because they have disrupted something in your life. They have caused money not to be made for you and your family, and to even how you purchase your home. This is why it's so important to have some type of emergency fund in your bank account. Something. Not just only to pay your fines, and then, until you can sue or whatever or bring a lawsuit, you have to have something, because a creditor is not going to have mercy on you because you have gotten involved with the law enforcement involuntarily, of nothing of your fault. So it's good to have an emergency fund some kind of way so that you be able to compensate yourself for those bills until compensation reaches you. Yes. Now, in verse 12, we know Israel split. And now we come to a sad part. And it says that it came to pass when Rehoboam had established the kingdom that had strengthened himself, he forsook the law of the I am, and all Israel with him. Rehoboam forsook the law of the Most High. And it says all Israel with him. And it came to pass in the 5th year of King Rehoboam, Shishak, king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem because they had transgressed against the I am. See, some of you hear the heathen talk, or the unbelieving Christian, or the unbelieving critic of the Most High. Why does God bring an enemy? Although God is going to punish that enemy because of what it has done, but why will he take this enemy and bring him against you? Or bring this calamity against you? Why would God do such a thing? Because of what? He forsook the law of the I am. Christian, why are you going through so much? Even those of you who follow this New Testament deal. You forsake the law of the I am. The heathen already know they already forsaken the law. They just rewrite things and put in things and tell you to forsake the law of the Most High. Many of you talk about the Bible but never read it. You talk about the law but never understood it. This is what you do. You judge God with harsh words. And you say, God, is your ways are not right. But God turns around and says, your ways are not right. The law of the I am is complete. And that is absolute. In other words, if 2 or 3 witnesses saw that you have, more than one witness saw that you have deleted a person, and they lay their hands on your head and say, we saw thus and such, and you will be deleted. But then they turn around and they find out that witnesses have lied. Unfortunately, those witnesses shall be deleted. It reminds me of Emmett Till. The heathen are not going to be fair. The woman found out. She put her mouth to lying. As with in many instances in that day and time, even today, where you have people with their lying. Although Shay was wrong, still, the woman lied. Now, his appetite for whatever he likes is crazy, but she lied. You have many women that are mature in mind, and you only know that by looking at their doing. Whether they're from a 10-year-old all the way up to a 20-year-old. Not saying anything like that, but what I'm saying is that a lot of women are mature in their mind as they grow older. Some say their frontal lobe and all this other stuff. That has nothing to do with it. you will know a child by its doing. And if she's going to put herself as a 304, then that's what she is. And it's only the wise man that will say, no, get away. The wise man will say, I stand with God. In other words, where is your father? Where is your mother? If you're of age, where is your father? Do they consent to what you're doing since you are in their house? If the village was really raising the children, we wouldn't have the situation that we have today, with youth being promiscuous as they do. Even the grown man or the grown woman. Even the King Lamech in the book of Psalms chapter 31, his mother counsels him. Don't go with this type of woman. Don't go with that. She may be looking young, looking good, older man. Understand what you are doing. You want to sow your wild oats. I done got off course here thinking about that, but either way, what I'm saying is that forsaking the law can bring your enemy against you. Even with that, forsaking the law, thou shalt not commit adultery. Adultery is under all type of it's a heading over a lot of things. So you have to understand the law to understand what does God mean by thou shalt not commit adultery. Anything out of the construct of marriage is adultery. Now, or I would put it under the heading of adultery. Now let's continue. It says now, and he says now, he brought the king of Shishak. The king of Egypt came up against Jerusalem because they had transgressed against the I.M. Shishak did not know they had transgressed against the I.M. Shishak could care less. But this is the reason why God runs Shishak, yes, don't get me wrong here, Shishak against Rehoboam, king of Jerusalem. Now, because they had transgressed against him. Okay, your enemy don't care about your God. Your enemy, slavery, being scattered all over the world. Your enemy does not know that all he knows is his greed and his lust and his pride, his agenda. Yes, that's all he knows. But why did this enemy come? God brought them against you. Why? Because you, your ancestors, they transgressed the law of the Most High. Let's go into verse 3. With 1,200 chariots, 60,000 horsemen, and the people were without number that came with him out of Egypt. These were black folks now. Black folks against black folks. Okay. This is what it was back then. These were not just no, they had nothing to do with that. And the Lubims and the Sukims and the Ethiopians or the Cushites. Or you can say, what's that, Akibulans? Not Akibulans, but Akabalans or something like that. However they would pronounce the Ethiopians back in that day. The Ethiopian now is a joke. When they say Ethiopian, it means blackface, period. Blackface, that's it. So you're not really Ethiopian. You need to change the name, really. That's something the colonizers are getting. You know, to be freer, you need to change your name from Ethiopia and go back to your original, the country's name, its original name. Ethiopia, Mr. President, yes, or Mr. King. And he took the fenced cities which pertain to Judah. He had all these in cahoots with him. These were on the other side of the Nile. And they came across the Nile, and then they came across the Red Sea. In other words, there was a landmass there. before they built the canal there. They came across that, and they came up into Israel. They had to go through, they went to the southern kingdom, which was the kingdom of Rehoboam. The northern kingdom was already gone with Jeroboam. Okay? And the Ethiopians, and he took the fenced cities which pertained to Judah and came to Jerusalem. This is Arad. Tell Arad. They won't say it in this Bible, but you have to go back to Jasher to understand. This was Arad, the king. This was Jebus, the real Jebus. And then came to pass the prophet to Rehoboam and to the princes of Judah that were gathered together to Jerusalem because of Shishak, and said to them, thus said the I am, ye have forsaken me. See, this is what I'm telling you. They had no idea. Shishak did not have any idea of what he was doing. All he knows that there was something in him that says, do this. There might have been an evil spirit or a spirit that came. You remember the 4 horsemen. Not the 4 horsemen, but the horsemen in the chariots that are in the book of Zechariah, sitting by the myrtle tree, going to and fro, causing wars, causing all manner of havoc in out the earth, famine and many things. These spirits, this was their job to do such a thing, to carry out the mind of the Most High. See, you have to understand the Most High. This is why it's so good to understand His Word. Not according to the colonizer, but according to us. God. You see God. You can see God in His Word. Thus, he says right here, he says now in verse 5, thus said the I am, you have forsaken me, and therefore, I'm in the latter part of it, and therefore have I also left you in the hand of Shishak. The spirit that's behind Shishak. There were spirits Zechariah saw. They caused war. They caused famine. They caused many things. But they took those same things and they copied them in Revelation. But whatever, it doesn't matter. They're going to do that anyway. Just like they did with the Egyptians in there. It didn't work, but it worked with, should I say, concocting a New Testament. Wherefore, in verse 6, he says, wherefore the priests of Israel and the king humbled themselves, and they says, the I am is righteous. And when the I am saw that they humbled themselves, the word of the I am came to Shemaiah, saying, they have humbled themselves, therefore I will not destroy them, but I will grant them some deliverance. The same thing is happening to you today, Israel. You think by your own strength, your own might, your own cognizance that you have become victorious in political, or if you had a bout on the street with law enforcement, or you had a bout in the street with government or some enemy that came from somewhere. It could have been, if you're in Africa, you probably have, one of the gangs come at you, but God offered you deliverance. He saved you. Without me, there is no salvation, no Savior. He's not just talking about Jesus. He said, and my wrath shall not be poured out upon Jerusalem by the hand of Shishak. Nevertheless, they shall be his servants. In other words, hold up now. Deuteronomy chapter 28. This is coming to pass. Hallelujah. Yes, it is. It's coming to pass. Deuteronomy chapter 28 is coming. They shall become the servants of Shishak, king of Egypt. No, they're not going to subdue you. They're not going to take you out. When God has delivered a people, the people should understand God wants you to change from your wicked ways. Same thing he would say to King of Fossil and France and United States and everyone that have gone the way of Cain, that have gone the way of Balaam. Change, he says. Change. Do that which is right before his eyes. Forsake your idols and what seemeth right unto you, and turn unto my law, is what the Most High would be saying. And he says it every day. He says, nevertheless shall be, and they may know my service and the service of kingdoms of the countries. So Shishak, king of Egypt, came against Jerusalem and took away the treasures of the house of the I Am. In other words, God said, what good is it? You're not serving me anyway. You take my stuff and you offer it to idols. This is what they were doing. So he allowed them to take that stuff away. He said he carried away all these things that King Solomon had put in there. And he was an idolater too. Carried also away the shields of gold which Solomon had made. When you come against the Most High, you're an idolater. When you have any man or any creature or any building, any being that you hold in esteem, even though you call them the Son of God or the Messiah, you worship him and you bow your knee. God said, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them. Didn't he say that? That even means Jesus. Yahawashah, Yahusha. That means the same thing. You're an idolater. You can get up there and scream and shout and do all the things that you want. You can feel electricity hit your body. That is not of God. When your ways please God, your enemies will be at peace with you. When your ways please God, you will not have the things, they will be peace all around you. God, for right now, God is only giving you what? A space, a little help. That's all. But yet you still wander and squalor in your sins. The village is not raising the children. The father has no authority over his own children. The mother, neither she has authority over her own children. You allow them to ruin your home, to marry whom they will, without any, should I say, when they say they deny, you don't deny, you don't say, hey, no, I forbid you to marry such a thing. And then that would turn this not only to your, away from your grievance, but that child, that young man, that young woman will have to bear their own burden before the Most High. See, you don't know the power you have as a parent. And what we call the spirit behind the colonizer is taking that away from you. They enact laws to leave the village or the family or the neighborhood or whatever. And now this is why you have so many divorces and all this other mess. This is why you have so many women that have been with thousands or hundreds of men at one time. Yes, this is why you have it. But he says, my wrath shall not be poured out upon Jerusalem by the hand of Shishak. No. Nevertheless, you will be his servants. Now we go to verse 9. So Shishak, king of Egypt, came against Jerusalem and took away the treasures of the house of the I Am, the treasures of the king's house. He took all away. And they carried away also the shields of gold which Solomon had made, instead of which Rehoboam made shields of brass, which King Rehoboam made shields of brass and committed them into the hands of the chief guard that kept the entrance of the king's house. And in other words, he took some of the things out of the house of the Most High just to make shields of brass so it looked pretty on his guards. And when the king entered into the house of the I Am, the guard came and fetched them and brought them again to the guard chamber. And when he humbled himself, the wrath of the I Am turned from him. This is what happened. When the king entered into the house of the I Am, the guard came and fetched him out of what? He fetched them and brought them again into the guard chamber. And when he humbled himself, the wrath of the I Am turned from him, that he would not destroy him altogether also in Judah with things in Judah, things went well. So the king Rehoboam strengthened himself in Jerusalem and reigned. And Rehoboam was one of the 41 and 40 years old. He was 41 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city of which the I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel to put his name there. And now it's profane. And his mother's name was Nema, the Ammonitess. In other words, Solomon married a Canaanite, or that which was from the Canaanites. In other words, his mother was not an Israelite. And he did evil because what? His mother probably was an idolater. He did evil. And he prepared not his heart to seek the I am. Now the acts of Rehoboam, first and last, are they not written in the book of Shemaiah the prophet and Edu the seer concerning genealogies? And there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam continually. And Rehoboam slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David, and Abijah, his son, reigned in his stead. So these are the chronicles of Rehoboam. Yes, that's what it is. Because he turned away from the king, or from the Most High. Yes, and he took things out of the house of the Most High. He made shields of brass and committed them to the hands of the chief of the guard and kept the entrance of the king's house. Yes, that's what he did. Now, another thing that he did too, look at what God says here. Rehoboam, what did he do? When Rehoboam had established, he forsook the law. That's what he did. You're suffering, Christian. Why are your churches getting blown up? Why are there mass murders everywhere? Why are the churches empty? Why are your preachers robbing you? That same one who tell you to join your Christ. And now here you are, devastated. You give all your money and you ain't got enough to pay your light bill. You're being hypocritical, put it that way. But God is not mocked, for there whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. This is what's happening to you in Christianity, and it's going to get worse. Look at the Christians that went overseas trying to preach Christianity combined with the law. Taking you to things that don't, instead of preaching the law, they try to preach them, oh, you're a child of Judah. Who cares? It's the law. It doesn't matter whether you're a child of Judah or not, the law. Because God says one law for the stranger and the homeborn. Doesn't matter. Yes, it's about the law. Even Psalms 1 will tell you to meditate on the law, and you will be like a tree planted by the rivers. Even Joshua tells you this book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth. We must always focus on the law in our daily activities. Even if we have to punch somebody in the mouth, we have to focus on the law. Because God says what? If somebody slaps you, slap them back, paraphrasing. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Yes, 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 that thing still stands. God doesn't change, so how would his words change? Give me a break. And with that, if we keep those things that are right, we would not end up like Deuteronomy 28. We can avert those things by individually obeying what God had tell us to do, even while we're yet in captivity. You are in captivity because if you were not, this would be an Israelite state. This will be where on the Sabbath things will close, businesses will close. No one will work on the Sabbath. During the time of the feast, there will be no business conducted. All the things that you would have to take care of before the feast days, you would have done before then to prepare. And this would be your way of life. See, this is why you are in captivity. It's not our way of life here. We cannot sacrifice. We cannot give 100 rams to the priests that they might sacrifice and also have food for themselves. We cannot do these things because they do not allow them. Neither we will be deleted most of the time, or either jailed, because and fined, many fines in the land that you're in now because you do such a thing. And then they will make it true that your corporation or whatever would go down. Even the Jews, they work, these are not no Jews. Why are they open? They got their businesses open on the Sabbaths and the feast days. Even in Jerusalem, they're doing the same thing. Those are not who you think they are. But nevertheless, if we keep those things that God tells us to do, we will have peace.
Walk with me.